What's up? What's up? Hello. It's SemoneOfficial. Simone, how are you? I'm a little bashful doing this sometimes because it's really yeah, my intimate thoughts and personal feelings all like out there now. So it is. It's something else. I tell you that. But this snow days are slow days. This snow really sat a lot of us down, and that's a good thing. Um, so this evening, the topic I've had so much on my mind, but like transitions. You know, when you're going through transitions in your life, those sometimes uncomfortable shifts where you realize you're stepping out of one phase of your life and entering another. But before you enter that other phase, there's like this kind of void, this waiting room almost, a waiting room that's like, what's going on? What's happening here? Where you have all these questions and you're just like, what's happening in this phase and the next phase? So once you close those doors, it's just like on to the next. And so that transition can be very uncomfortable. It can be painful. It can be exciting, yes, but most of the time when I'm experiencing leaving one phase of my life and headed into another, it's reluctant. It's like, ugh, I was comfortable, I was comfortable. And this is where I challenge myself to step out of my comfort zones because you can't grow in there. You won't grow in your comfort zones. You can only grow by stepping outside of what you've grown familiar to and what you've grown used to. That doesn't mean that you can't take with you the things that make you comfortable, your values and your your personality. Those things come with you, but there are just things that can't go, right? Everybody can't go. Everything can't go. So that's where you really release. And that's uncomfortable and painful at times too. Everything that comes with like transitioning in your life, can be a painful process, can be an uncomfortable process, but it's like a necessary process. It's the necessary. It's what you have to do in order to keep progressing, to be your best self, and to do your best work, right? I just keep thinking that a lot of us haven't even hit our stride yet. Some of us have barely scratched the surface. And so that's what transitions are for. It's to get you out of that comfort zone, out of that space that you've grown used to so that you can expand and venture out and move forward in a way that's going to make a difference, not just in your life, but possibly in the life of others. So I'm just like, I feel like when you can't find peace, it's time to really accept that there's a transition at play, that there's something that you're supposed to be moving towards, and there's something that you're supposed to be moving away from. What are your thoughts? Is that like common to feel that way or what? Like really, what are your thoughts on that? Because it's definitely something that I welcome, but it's also something that I look back and I go, every shift, every transition I've experienced in my life where I was feeling life pull me out of something or somewhere I had grown comfortable with, no matter how uncomfortable I became in that thing, whatever it was, whether it was a relationship, a career space, whatever it was, even though it had grown uncomfortable and sometimes it was painful, I was like, I'm still more comfortable here. So when you do finally accept that, okay, let's move and let's get out of this comfort zone. Let's get out of this space that we've grown used to. There's still just like a mind thing that you have to go through because you deal with all that discomfort and all that pain sometimes. I'm not gonna lie, like transitions in life, I think I'll speak for myself here because that's what this is about. I'll speak for myself and say, I think that I've had good transitions and transitions that have felt horrible, right? And so some of those transitions that can feel good are when you're stepping into a passion or career that you love, or when you're stepping into a relationship that feels different, that feels good, that, you open your heart and you're ready for it. And some of those more bad feeling transitions are the ones where you're kind of emotionally and mentally kicking and screaming like, I was used to this, right? I don't want to leave this. I was used to this pattern or these people. I don't want to leave that alone. But just because you've grown used to it doesn't mean that it's good for you. It doesn't mean that you're supposed to stay there. It doesn't mean that you're meant to stay there. And I think that's where I'm sort of at this space in my life. I'm definitely going through a transit. I'm in the waiting room. I'm going through transitions and they can hurt. They can hurt. When you close doors that you know you'll never open again, when you step out of spaces that you know you'll never walk into again, it can be painful. But what's the way, or what are some ways you can make it easier for yourself, right? Because that dark feeling, those intense feelings, those uncomfortable feelings can sometimes overcome you. And you could be like, am I depressed? What am I going through right now that is making me feel like giving up? Like just whatever. It's very uncomfortable. But those transitions are important. And I think wintertime, and I've said this before, winter is always a transition period for me because it's a time of reflection. I like to be outside. I like to be in nature. I like to be doing things. And winter has a way of coming in and going, okay, what's our focus? Or where do we need to refocus? And sometimes I don't want to do that at that time. Right? I want to get into the fun of life and the joy of things. But yes, sometimes we do have to get through the seriousness of life and go through those serious things before we can get back to our joys. But it's just had me thinking about where you find peace. And so when things are not peaceful within your own sphere, within your own life or your own self, they can be somewhat peaceful in your life, but you can just be like itching to do stuff and get things done and make things happen. I'm a person that I like to be active and doing things. And so when it feels like I'm slowing down, I do embrace those moments. I'll give myself a little bit of credit. I do embrace them, but I do embrace them sometimes reluctantly because I know that it means I'm closing something out. when there's a little bit of resistance from me, when there's a little bit of reluctance from me, it typically means I'm closing out a cycle of my life that I got comfortable with, a cycle of my life that I made love. It's just not good anymore. It's not good for me anymore. And so it may feel like you're in the waiting room, waiting for that next door to open so that you can enter that new phase and have that new beginning. A lot of us are ready. And then there are those of us that might not be as ready as we want to be for the new phase. We hold up the process a little bit. We do everything we can to hold on. When in reality, what we need to be doing is letting go with love and letting go with gratitude